Hey guys, tonight we're wandering into a dim candlelit parlor in the middle of Victorian London. The air smells faintly of bergamot and old books. The soft clink of porcelain cups fills the silence, and just beyond the lace curtains, a foghorn hums over the Thames. You're seated on a tufted sofa, warm tea in hand, surrounded by polite smiles and gloved fingers, when it happens. That familiar heaviness behind your eyes, that gentle tilt of the head that says, maybe just 5 minutes. But don't. Not here. Because in the upper circles of Victorian society, falling asleep after tea wasn't seen as rest. It was seen as weakness, maybe even sin. And you probably wouldn't survive the gossip that followed. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And tell me where you're watching from and what time it is for you right now. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The parlor hour. It was the golden hinge between day and night, that fragile moment after supper but before the oil lamps were fully lit. Society hostesses called it the hour of refinement. The men had returned from their clubs, women had changed into lighter gowns, and the air smelled of roses, starch, and social tension. You sit there, listening to the faint rustle of skirts and the clatter of teaspoons, the low murmur of conversation drifting across the room, and you realize everyone is fighting the same invisible battle, the temptation to drift off. The human body, after hours of ceremony and sugar, begins its quiet rebellion, but no one dares yield. In Victorian England, naps weren't innocent. A doze meant loss of control. Control was everything, of posture, voice, and even the muscles behind your eyelids. A sleeping face, relaxed and unguarded, hinted at something indecent. The body unmasked. You might reveal a grimace, a twitch, a sigh, proof of fatigue, or worse, emotion. Historians still argue whether this fear of falling asleep came from religion or reputation. Some say it was rooted in Protestant work ethics, where idleness was practically a sin. Others claim it was pure social survival. Appear lazy, and you'd be judged unfit for polite company. The Victorians, after all, didn't rest. They reposed. Even rest had to be rehearsed. One documented ritual describes women taking refreshment rests, where they'd recline gracefully for exactly 7 minutes, never more. Just enough to regain complexional brightness without looking indulgent. Meanwhile, men would step outside to breathe, a polite code for closing their eyes against a brick wall for a few stolen seconds. You can almost imagine it. A gentleman leaning against the lamppost, eyes shut, pretending to admire the night air while secretly counting the beats of his own exhaustion. And back in the parlor, the hostess notices. Her fan twitches. A half-second flutter of silk means one thing: he's not fit for company tonight. But the real terror wasn't being seen tired, it was being caught dreaming. Because a nap, in Victorian logic, opened the mind to things best left unspoken. Unfiltered desires, superstitions, or even ghosts. Dreaming was a door, and polite society hated unlocked doors. There's a quirky anecdote from an 1872 etiquette manual warning young ladies never to sleep within sight of unfamiliar gentlemen, lest an unguarded expression be misinterpreted. That's right, sleeping near someone could be a scandal. It wasn't the nap itself that frightened them. It was what the nap revealed. Even the furniture tells the story. The famous fainting couch, curved and short, wasn't made for comfort. It was designed to discourage deep sleep. The angle would let a woman recline just long enough to recover her nerves, but not enough to snore, drool, or dream. And still, despite every rule, the body whispered its own defiance. The tea had calmed you too much, the corset pinched too tight, and the curtains filtered sunlight into a haze of drowsy gold. You'd feel your head dip forward just an inch before jerking upright again, pretending to admire the floral pattern on the carpet. Everyone noticed. No one mentioned it. Victorian society was a grand theater of wakefulness. To sleep after tea was to break character, to remind everyone that underneath the silk and starch, you were just human. The horror wasn't sleep itself, it was humanity showing through. And that's where our strange little fear begins. The upper class turns something as natural as rest into a performance. Every minute after tea became a test of endurance, a silent duel between body and decorum. So, as the last spoon clinks against porcelain and the air thickens with lavender and candle smoke, you sit perfectly upright, smiling at nothing in particular, hoping the clock strikes 9 before your eyelids betray you. Because in this world, nodding off isn't rest, it's rebellion. The tea that warms your hands, that soft amber liquid glowing in porcelain, it's supposed to refresh you, or at least that's what they told you. But deep down, you know better. In Victorian drawing rooms, tea wasn't simply a comfort, it was chemistry, etiquette, and a subtle form of control. You sip it politely, pretending it keeps you awake, yet you feel the drowsiness slide in, sly and unstoppable. The truth is, Victorian tea culture was a paradox wrapped in porcelain. Afternoon tea was meant to revive the weary, yet it often did the opposite. It soothed, calmed, and lulled. But here's the twist. Victorian tea wasn't the mild, delicate drink we know today. Many blends were brimming with hidden stimulants, artificial colorants, and, brace yourself, actual metal dust. That's right. In the 19th century, shady tea merchants would mix in lead chromate to give old tea leaves a fresh green hue, or Prussian blue pigment to make them look exotic. You'd drink your energizing brew, feeling slightly lightheaded, and wonder if the strange tingling in your fingers meant your tea was strong, or if your body was quietly protesting. Historians still argue whether the Victorians realized how toxic these additives were, or if they simply chose not to know. Yet the real stimulant wasn't just in the cup, it was the caffeine of conversation. Tea gatherings were small theaters of observation, every sip measured, every pause judged. Imagine yourself in that setting. You lift your cup, fingers curved just so. Eyes alert, mind racing to appear calm. You can't let your shoulders slump. You can't sigh. You can't, under any circumstances, look tired. Because tiredness hinted at weakness, and weakness was social suicide. Victorians believed in the body as a reflection of moral strength. To be fatigued was to be undisciplined, and tea time was when everyone proved they were in control. But ironically, the very caffeine meant to preserve alertness often betrayed them, sending hearts racing, nerves fluttering, and minds spiraling into anxious exhaustion. Doctors at the time called it tea nerves. It was a real diagnosis in the 1870s. Women complained of trembling hands, sleepless nights, and what one physician delicately called mental agitation caused by habitual infusion. Another pamphlet even warned that tea could produce a state of cerebral irritability bordering on hysteria. You take another sip. Maybe it's psychosomatic, maybe it's not, but the sensation feels familiar. That racing mind, that fluttering pulse.
The Victorians drank tea for calm, but it quietly kept them awake long after the candles burned down. And while you're sipping, here's a fringe tidbit few talk about. Some high society women secretly swapped tea leaves for coca leaf infusions imported from South America, Yes, that coca. It was advertised as a revitalizing tonic for the fatigued, and chemists swore it would restore vitality to the delicate constitution. You can imagine the polite laughter echoing through the parlor as someone's pupils quietly dilate. The caffeine, the coca, the social pressure, it all blended into one jittery cocktail of grace and guilt. No one dared sleep after tea, not because they weren't tired, but because they were too alert. Wired by stimulants and social anxiety, everyone performed composure until their nerves vibrated like piano strings. And still, the illusion of calm persisted. The tea table gleamed with silver spoons and soft napkins, sugar cubes like jewels in their crystal dish. You'd think peace lived there. But underneath that still surface was tension, an unspoken rule that the upper class must never look like they needed rest. Historians still debate whether this obsession with alertness was born of pride or fear. Was it about showing moral superiority or hiding the body's rebellion against the endless rhythm of manners? As twilight deepened, caffeine met candlelight, and exhaustion began to shimmer at the edges of the room. That's when you'd see it. The telltale flutter of a hand, the flick of a fan, the sharp glance between women when someone's chin dropped too low. The fear of sleep wasn't irrational, it was conditioned. A few seconds of drifting off could erase months of social climbing. The tea that symbolized refinement also fueled paranoia. You could almost hear the whispers forming before the napper even woke. Did you see Lady Fairfax? So improper. She must be ill, or worse, dissolute. So you sit straighter, forcing a smile that feels rehearsed, letting the caffeine hum quietly in your veins. The tea has done its job. You're alert, but not alive. Awake, but not at peace. And as the last cup is poured and the teapot cools, you realize the cruelest irony of all. The very ritual meant to soothe the spirit was built to keep the spirit from ever resting. The air in the drawing room grows thicker as twilight slides into evening. The clock on the mantelpiece ticks like a heartbeat, steady, judgmental. The tea things have been cleared, conversation lingers in lazy fragments, and that's when it begins, the performance of staying awake. You sit there, posture immaculate, face glowing faintly from candlelight, and the tiniest yawn trembles in your chest like a forbidden secret. You swallow it back, smile instead, but someone saw. They always see. Victorian society was built on surveillance long before CCTV or social media. Every guest was a critic, every parlor a stage. Nap etiquette, yes, it existed, was a social minefield. Doze too long, and you were seen as bored, rude, or scandalously self-indulgent. Close your eyes for a heartbeat, and whispers would bloom like mildew in the corners. The unspoken rule? You may rest, but you must never appear restful. Servants were trained to notice these moments, the butler's raised brow, the maid's subtle adjustment of curtains. They weren't just manners, they were warnings. No one wanted to be the topic of gossip at tomorrow's breakfast, especially not over something as humiliating as being caught napping. One etiquette book from 1868 puts it bluntly: to succumb to drowsiness in company is a mark of spiritual decay. Spiritual decay! As if a nap could corrupt your soul. You picture yourself fighting sleep as your hostess drones on about her cousin's new lace import, and you realize this isn't just conversation, it's combat. Historians still argue whether these strict manners were truly moral or merely theatrical. Some say they emerged from the growing middle-class obsession with respectability. Others claim the upper crust needed rules to differentiate themselves from laborers, those who had to rest from exhaustion. Either way, you can feel the pressure in your spine. And there's a funny, tragic irony. While everyone feared being seen asleep, the entire social structure depended on people staying awake for them. Servants worked into the night, polishing, preparing, lighting, extinguishing. They could nap only in hidden corners or while standing,
Yes, standing, because even the sound of a servant's snore might insult the household's dignity. You shift slightly, pretending to listen as the host speaks about poetry. Your eyes blur, the firelight dances in gold and shadow. For a split second, your mind drifts, perhaps to a quiet countryside morning, no corsets, no clocks, and then you jolt awake, realizing your head tilted an inch too far. Someone catches your eye across the room. Just a moment's pause, a knowing smile. It's friendly, but you feel heat crawl up your neck. You've been seen. From that moment, your reputation hangs in balance. Maybe you'll be forgiven, maybe they'll call it fatigue from charitable work, or maybe the whispers will start by mourning. Poor dear, clearly overtired, perhaps melancholic. Because Victorians had a habit of medicalizing everything. A woman who fell asleep was frail. A man who nodded off was morally softened. The idea of simple human tiredness didn't exist. It had to mean something deeper, darker. Here's the quirky part. Some social gatherings actually hired alertness companions, usually younger relatives or paid guests, whose job was to keep conversation lively and prevent others from drifting off. Imagine being paid just to keep rich people awake. The Industrial Revolution created factory foremen. The Social Revolution created parlor chaperones of consciousness. The absurdity of it all almost makes you laugh, but not too loud, because laughter itself had etiquette rules too. 3 seconds max, no teeth. The deeper meaning behind this social spyglass wasn't just about politeness, it was about control. To be alert was to be in charge of your body, your expression, your place in the hierarchy. A nap blurred those boundaries. When someone slept, they became briefly equal, naked in vulnerability, and equality, even for a second, was unacceptable. So you keep your eyes wide open as the lamps are lit, the flame flickering across gilded frames and silk wallpaper. Your body is tired, your thoughts are drifting, but your face must remain serene. The hostess leans forward, her smile as bright as her diamonds. She asks, "Another cup?" You nod, of course, because the moment you refuse, she'll know. You've entered that liminal space between exhaustion and endurance, the same place Victorians spent their lives performing in. They didn't rest because rest looked too much like surrender, and surrender was the one thing no upper-class Englishman or woman was allowed to show. In the parlor, the art of wakefulness became a ritual of survival. So when you finally leave that night, stepping into the cold air, your body sighs with relief. The fog kisses your face. Your eyelids finally flutter free. But deep down, you carry the invisible mark every Victorian carried, the terror of being seen human. You'd think science might have rescued them, some reasonable voice saying, "It's just fatigue, my dear." But no. In the Victorian age, even sleep became a battlefield for doctors, preachers, and philosophers. Everyone wanted to diagnose it, define it, or condemn it. You sip your tea again, watching the steam curl like ghostly ribbons above the cup, and wonder what exactly they were so afraid of. Falling asleep after tea wasn't merely poor manners. It was a symptom. Of what? Depended on whom you asked. The doctors had one answer, the clergymen another. And somewhere between the two, the truth probably curled up for a nap and refused to get up. Let's start with the physicians. Victorian medical journals are full of warnings about postprandial torpor, the lethargy after meals. It wasn't just drowsiness, they claimed. It was evidence of sluggish circulation, moral weakness, and impure air. Yes, impure air, because in the 1800s, before germs were fully understood, the miasma theory ruled the day. People believed diseases, and apparently naps, came from bad air. So if you drifted off after tea, it wasn't exhaustion, it was contamination. You can picture the scene, a worried matron clutching her handkerchief, blaming the heavy London atmosphere for her husband's mid-evening yawn, then ordering the maid to open the windows so the foul humors could escape. Never mind that it was December and the fog was practically solid. Doctors warned that lingering drowsiness could signal everything from anemia to incipient consumption, tuberculosis, to early madness. Historians still argue whether Victorian doctors genuinely believed these theories or simply catered to their patients' paranoia. Either way, no one wanted to appear lethargic. Then came the preachers. To them, the problem wasn't physical, it was moral. They preached that idleness led to sin, and sleep, especially daytime sleep, was the body's sly way of tempting the soul. Sermons described the devil's drowse, a state in which Satan lulled one into laziness so he might steal your discipline. A soul unguarded by wakefulness, wrote one minister in 1854, is a door left ajar to temptation. You smile at the absurdity, but a faint chill follows, because in that world, even closing your eyes could make you suspicious. To doze after tea wasn't just tiredness, it was moral decline. And of course, the scientists, those gentlemen philosophers in dusty studies, had their own theories. Some argued that the human body possessed a dual sleep rhythm, claiming afternoon drowsiness was an evolutionary leftover from primitive man. Others dismissed it as weakness of constitution, particularly in women. One medical essay from 1879 claimed that feminine softness of nerve may incline the fairer sex to untimely repose. You can almost hear the quill scratching smugly across the page. But there was one curious figure who challenged them all, Dr. John Elliotson, a famous physician and mesmerist. He believed that sleep wasn't laziness or illness, but a magnetic state of the soul. Through mesmerism, what we'd now call hypnosis, he claimed he could guide patients into healing trances, restoring balance between mind and body. The public loved it, until the Royal Society laughed him out of their meetings. Still, his ideas spread like candlelight through the fog. Spiritualists and hypnotists seized them, claiming that sleep opened the mind to invisible realms. Suddenly, falling asleep wasn't just impolite, it was dangerous, because who knew what spirits you might encounter while drifting? The newspapers feasted on such stories. One article from 1882 described a woman who claimed to see shadowy visitors each time she nodded off after tea. The piece ended not with comfort, but with a stern reminder, let this be a warning to the indolent. So there it was, science calling sleep sickness, religion calling it sin, and the press calling it scandal. You, caught in the middle, were left terrified of your own eyelids. And here's the strange, forgotten detail. Wealthy Victorians began commissioning sleep doctors to ensure they could stay awake at proper hours. These so-called experts prescribed bizarre cures, smelling salts, mustard foot baths, electric belts that stimulated the vital energies. Some even recommended reading parliamentary reports before bed, guaranteed to keep one alert through sheer boredom. You almost pity them. Trapped between superstition and pseudoscience, they lived in constant fear of their own biology. Historians still debate whether this obsession came from genuine health anxieties or from an empire's guilt, the relentless push for productivity, moral superiority, and industrial conquest. Because what is empire, if not the refusal to rest? And so the parlor became a laboratory of endurance, each person an experiment in self-control, suppressing yawns, resisting nature. You can feel it even now, the body begging for peace, the mind whispering, not yet.
It's almost poetic, a civilization terrified of sleep because deep down they knew rest was rebellion. You stare into your empty teacup, the last drop cold and silent. Outside, a carriage rattles past, its wheels echoing like a metronome through the street. The clock ticks on, measuring not time, but discipline. And as your reflection wavers in the porcelain, you realize the fear wasn't about drowsiness. It was about losing control in a world obsessed with staying composed. And then, at last, when the lamps burn low and the chatter fades to murmurs, comes the moment of surrender, or what should be surrender. That brief, delicious dip into sleep, but not in Victorian England. No, even dreams weren't private there. You can almost feel it, your body begging to recline, the faint pulse in your temples, the sugar crash from all that cake and caffeine. You tilt your head slightly, maybe close your eyes for half a breath, but behind those eyelids, another world stirs. And in that world, the Victorians found both fascination and terror. Because to them, dreaming wasn't just rest, it was revelation. This was an age drunk on meaning. Everything had symbolism, flowers, handwriting, even the way one stirred tea. So of course, dreams had to mean something too. By the late 1800s, entire dream interpretation manuals were being sold alongside etiquette guides. They promised to decode your nocturnal visions. Dream of roses? Secret love. Dream of mirrors? Guilt. Dream of falling asleep after tea? Moral decline. Or, as one 1875 pamphlet put it, the creeping vine of indulgence. It sounds silly now, but imagine the pressure of knowing that even your dreams could be judged. The upper class, ever obsessed with reputation, became terrified of what their dreams revealed.
A scandalous thought glimpsed in sleep could mean weeks of self-reproach. You could wake up in a cold sweat, not from the nightmare itself, but from the fear of what it implied about your soul. Historians still argue whether Victorians truly believed their dreams had more weight, or if it was just fashionable mysticism. But either way, the anxiety was real. And here's where things get weirder. Dream diaries became social currency. Young ladies were encouraged to keep journals of their respectable dreams, ones involving angels, gardens, or family scenes. But if a dream dared wander into forbidden territory, say an unknown admirer, or heaven forbid, flying without a chaperone, it was quietly omitted or burned. Writers took notice. Novelists like Wilkie Collins and Charlotte Bronte wove dream scenes into their books, turning them into metaphors for guilt, repression, and desire. A well-bred character never dreamed peacefully. Their subconscious always betrayed them. Sleep became dangerous, the mind's dark theater where masks fell away. You start to see the irony. The Victorians, so proud of restraint, feared their own humanity even in sleep. They lived in corsets and rules by day, and by night, their minds tried to break free. And then came the spiritualists. Parlors that once held polite tea gatherings now hosted seances. Mediums claimed they could cross into the dream realm and speak to spirits between waking and sleep. For them, dozing off wasn't weakness, it was awakening. Imagine the scene, the same drawing room, but this time the candles are dimmed, the guests hold hands, and a woman in lace speaks in a whisper that isn't quite her own. The Victorians, so rational and rigid by day, became mystics after dark. They feared sleep because they thought it opened the door to ghosts, but they couldn't stop knocking. The newspapers mocked them, of course. One satirical column in 1886 described a seance where everyone fell asleep halfway through and blamed it on spiritual anesthesia. Yet attendance at such events kept growing. Even Queen Victoria reportedly visited mediums after Prince Albert's death, desperate for a dream that would let her see him again. So by the late 19th century, the fear of sleep had split in two. The moralists still saw it as weakness, but the dreamers, the poets, the mystics, began to see it as freedom. The very thing society repressed by daylight became sacred in darkness. And maybe that's the strange beauty of it all. Beneath the silk, the caffeine, the posture, and propriety, every Victorian heart longed for rest, for the soft collapse of performance, for a few stolen seconds of peace. You can almost picture her, a tired hostess at midnight, still smiling as the guests leave. She removes her gloves, extinguishes the lamps, and finally lets her shoulders fall. The city outside is silent. Her body sags against the chaise. For the first time all day, she breathes without thinking how it looks. And perhaps just before sleep takes her, she forgives herself for being human. The story fades, and so does the light. The parlor is empty now. Only the faint scent of lavender and tea leaves lingers in the air. You can almost hear the clock ticking softly, no longer as a command, but as a comfort. Time, at last, has loosened its grip. You lean back, letting the weight of the past drift away. The Victorians, for all their silk and self-control, were just people, anxious, tired, yearning for permission to rest. And maybe that's what connects you to them now. The same racing thoughts, the same hum of expectation, the same quiet battle between exhaustion and pride. Take a slow breath. Imagine the velvet curtains drawn, the fire dying low, the world outside muffled by fog. You don't need to sit straight anymore. You don't have to smile. You don't have to prove anything. Because somewhere between that last sip of tea and the first hint of dreaming, you realize what they couldn't. That sleep isn't surrender, it's mercy. It's the moment the body forgives the mind for trying too hard. So close your eyes. Let the chatter fade, the clock stop, the candlelight dissolve into nothing. You've made it through the parlor, through the performance, through the centuries of stiffness and fear. Now, it's just you, breathing, drifting, safe.